with the Unit 9 from this course MCS-207 DBMS. Okay, so this is the Unit 9 and इसमें क्या क्या पढ़ना है हम लोग को Assertions and Views and Embedded SQL and Dynamic SQL, stored procedures and triggers. Okay, inside these two topics also I have to cover it now. Next, advanced feature of SQL. ठीक है, so देखते हैं Advanced SQL. SQL recap कर लेते हैं. SQL is a standard query language used in database system. Its widespread availability on most commercial database is a key reason of a RDMS. So previous unit में हम लोग क्या कवर किए थे? DDL data, DDL, DDL, DML, DCL. ठीक है. So DDL में क्या था? Creating tables and constants, and DML for the manipulation. उसके अंदर में आता है insertion, delete, like updating all these. DCL granting, revoking permission, joins, combining data from multiple labels, subqueries, nested queries for complex data retrieval. So next, purpose of this unit. Introduce. इस यूनिट का पर्पस क्या है? Assertion, Views, Triggers, Standard Procedure, Cursor and Embedded SQL, Dynamic SQL, SQLJ. So इसमें क्या है? Rules to enforce data integration, virtual tables, triggers में atomic action on specific database events, standard procedure, reusable SQL routines. फिर cursor to process query result row by row, embedded SQL using SQL inside a host programming language, dynamic SQL statements generated at runtime, SQLJ using SQL Java program. Important notes, example provided in this देखेंगे. Next देखते हैं need of constants in database. So इसमें primary keys, unique identifier for a table. ठीक है. Not null की column cannot have blank values. Next, checks का restricts values to a specific range and condition. Unique ensure column values are unique. Foreign key ensure referential integrity between tables. What are assertion? Assertion are general constants that may involve more than one table. Assertion are general constants that involve more than one table. They enforce rules that cannot be specified by basic table constraint. In university rule, student cannot be admitted if the age is greater than 25 or age is greater than minimum age of a teacher. ठीक है. It involves comparing data across multiple labels. What are views? A views is a virtual table. It does not share data physically. Instead of viewing into a sorted query that pulls down data from physical table. Advantages: allow user to see only the required data. Views can simplify complex queries. Now, SQL command interface. Standard SQL interface allow interactive queries where commands are executed immediately. These are good for users who know SQL and want to run custom queries. Now, embedded SQL refer to playing SQL commands inside a host programming language like C, C++, Java, etc. These SQL commands interact with the database through the host program. Why called static? Okay, why called static? Embedded SQL is often called static SQL because the SQL commands themselves do not charge during program execution. The SQL commands themselves do not charge during program execution. Only the input parameter changes. Query language determines designer time, not runtime. उसके बाद देखते की पॉइंट याद रखने का. Embedded SQL language a programmer to combine database manage operation and application logic in a single program while keeping queries most unchanged. As embedded SQL allows a programmer to combine data operation and application logic in a single program while keeping queries mostly unchanged. Cursor and embedded SQL. A cursor is a portion of memory RAM allocated by the database server for a query processing. Ideally, this memory should enough to hold the entire query result, but memory constraints often has limit. पर्पस मतलब नहीं समझ में आया, इसको एक बार फिर से देखते हैं. कर्सर इज अ पोर्शन ऑफ मेमोरी allocated by the database server for query processing. Ideally, this memory should be enough to hold the entire query result, but memory constraints often limit this. Purpose of a cursor: when a query returns multiple rows, a cursor allows you to process them one by one. Dynamic SQL. Unlike static SQL, dynamic SQL is constructed at runtime. Steps in dynamic SQL: build the SQL command as a string in host language. This is the embedding SQL directly into Java program workflow. This advantages SQLJ allow embedding SQL directly into Java program. SQL source code is translated by SQLJ processor into Java code. Java code is compiled and run on the database. Advantages of SQLJ: code becomes more compact. SQL syntax error are catch at compile time, not runtime. Summary देख लेते हैं. Process multiple rows one by one. SQL statement built at runtime, flexible but slower. Embeds SQL in Java with compiled text. Next है sorted procedures and triggers. Sorted procedures are pre-compiled programs stored in a database. They implement specific reusable function, checking the validity of enrollment code using a check DC. Advantages: remove SQL logic from application program, more readable and maintainable code. Triggers are like storage procedure but actively automatically by specific database events. Action: insert, update, delete operation on a table. Components of a trigger: events, what action activates the trigger. Condition: check if the trigger should execute. ठीक है, ट्रिगर्स का ये कुछ है. समरी में देख लेते हैं. स्टोर प्रोसीजर्स: रीयूजेबल, कंपाइल फास्टर एंड explicitly. Triggers: auto executed and even used for cross table constants. Do not take parameters. या जरा किसके अंदर, इसमें. Triggers are like stored procedure but activated automatically by specific database events. And SQLDG allow embedding SQL into Java program. Cursor is a portion of memory allocated by the database server query processing. And view is a virtual table. It does not store data physically. This is all for this unit 9.